This is the Paracasual Destiny Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to episode 9. Is it episode 9 of the Paracasual Destiny Podcast? I'm Sooltime, and I'm joined by Salliebug. Salliebug, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, all right.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
And we are also joined by Greenstego, who just popped up on the monitor here. And, broadcasting live from a chilly morning atop the mountain. I don't know what the weather's like where you are, Stego, but it's starting to get chilly up here, which is much welcome from the muggy humidity that we've had recently. It's a nice break. What have we all been doing in Destiny over the past, what I assume to be a busy week for all of us? Salliebug, do you want to kick us off?
Well, we did, we were able to get on a couple of times, over the weekend. We, got on with a fellow, clan member and attempted the Grandmaster Nightfall.
Oh, I forgot about that. My brain shut it out.
Yeah, a few times.
It was last weekend. Because
everyone that I follow who are pretty good at the game said, "Oh, this Grandmaster is out. You can farm it, easy peasy."
Yeah, it's the easy one.
Oh yeah, here we go. Let's give it a try. And it was not as easy as the tweets and the other content creators made it out to be for someone at least at my level. So it was a little discouraging,
to say the least.
Although I will say that we improved every time. I mean, for our first attempt at Grandmaster,
it was like
right?
a raid. You improved.
So we've never done it before. We've never tried Grandmaster before. We don't know you didn't know what to expect in terms of, you knew that the enemies were going to be stronger and harder, but like you didn't know how many of what type of weapons would you best need to have, tweaking who was going to do what in terms of like knocking down shields and setting up bubbles or rifts or tethers and all that. So we were kind of working our way through it. I was a little disappointed. I think we found out kind of our last attempt on Monday. We found out that there is a time limit, and after a certain amount of time, you lose all of your revives. It's like, okay, you can take as long as you need, as long as none of you die, because you don't have any more revives.
It's like the game saying you drank fizzy lifting drink, and now you lose, right? Good day, sir.
So, at any rate, we did, and then school started for real on Tuesday. So
for realsies.
So we got on a couple of times and have done a few of the initial missions associated with Traveler's Chosen.
I was going to say Traveler's Choice. Greenstego, did you manage any game time? And if not, what was your week like?
On Sunday, we hopped on and completed the objectives to upgrade to Majestic. We didn't get up to Magnificent, we just got up to Majestic using the triple bonus bug. That was very easy. We then purchased the armor ornaments.
Great.
Nice.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this week, school has started in earnest, and
yeah,
And it's been a week.
Oh gosh, yeah. I came home and collapsed yesterday. It's exhausting. Doing social distancing with masks with 7th and 8th graders in a school setting is exhausting for them and for us. It's crazy.
The policing of, like the added level of, like, teaching in general is an exhausting profession in its own right. It's physically and psychically exhausting, and it's just on its own. But adding that layer of COVID and trying to make sure that all of them are staying safe by socially distancing, which they're not, and keeping their masks on, which they're not, like just having to police that element to it. It's way, you knew it was going to be a challenge, but it's definitely way harder than we could have even imagined.
Wow.
But at any rate, so exhausted is a good word.
All right.
And
our favorite, our new favorite little guardian, C3PO, our granddaughter, has been keeping up with the game since we introduced her to it on a sleepover. And she, according to Funny Bone, has met the Hive for the first time. Imagine that. Not a big fan of Sloan, he says in the chat. Well, who is, right? But loves the location and aesthetics.
What is it about her? She's just a little abrasive, I guess.
She's already part of this community of Destiny Remember When, because she's experienced Titan and it's going away in November, so she'll be able to say, "Oh, I was on Titan. I remember Titan," right? So that's kind of cool. Fractious Heart says, "What's wrong with Sloan?" Well,
I just think she's a little abrasive. I feel like she just has it. She's just not. She doesn't have that kind of warm, fuzzy, welcoming personality like Zavala.
I think Zavala's actually more abrasive, but he's got more of a personality. Yeah.
I was joking. The two of them are two-piece. I think they've just kind of made it say, this is what Titans are like. This is the Titan personality.
Let's screw what we had planned and just make this a Sloan episode. We'll call up the Ishtar Collective, get all the lore that was any mention of Sloan, and do a full
you think
Sloan.
about, like, all of the Titans. Like, who are our other, like, Titans? It would be,
Funny Bone.
Shaq's a Titan?
Funny Bone's a Titan.
Funny Bone's a Titan.
Greenstego's a Titan.
Yeah.
Ghost from our clan is a Titan, usually.
Yeah, and none of them are abrasive, so I'm talking about the NPCs, though.
We determined that Nibby, our tuxedo cat, she's a Titan. The other day, we asked.
Yeah, we gave our cats
classes.
So,
yeah, Nibby's a Titan and Bibbs is a hunter. We said, right? Yeah, she's definitely a hunter.
Yeah, she's definitely a hunter.
Yeah.
She's kind of like she's all black, right? She's stealth-like. She's kind of
very
creeps around.
stealthy, yeah.
And she's kind of quiet, when she's whereas, like, when Nibby comes down the stairs, you hear her.
Yeah,
thump, thump, thump,
she
thump,
is a Titan. She's just got that bulk to her.
So, Stego, if you were going to give your cat
Saint 14 is abrasive? No, he's friendly. Okay,
no, I
yeah.
said he's the opposite of
right.
abrasive.
That's what Fractious Heart says. He's friendly.
Our cat is Sabathoon. Oh, that's hilarious. What about?
Okay.
Maybelly. I'm gonna say Maybelly is Ava. No, yeah, Ava. Yeah.
Well, we've
Ava
gone from
Levante?
assigning classes to
Ava
characters
Levante.
to all of our pets, so you can do this at
Holy
home
crap.
as well. Just yeah.
Did you play any this week? Have you tried the Traveler's Chosen at all? Have you had a chance to get on at all?
Who, me?
No, I haven't yet.
Yeah.
Heard the Traveler's Chosen.
Oh,
We're hoping
yeah.
to do some this weekend. Yeah.
We're getting some
We've
exo-sounding internet stuff going on here, so.
We've been avoiding the
Something. Funny Bone says, I named my cat Scory, and that indeed he did. That's
and
Scory's a hunter?
Scory was what subclass? I don't remember.
I forget.
Is
Oh my
Scory
gosh.
a warlock?
I don't know. Scory
Now
was
we're gonna
known.
have to look up in the lore.
Wasn't Scory known to stay in the back?
Scory was a warlock, according to...
That's what I
Okay.
thought. Scory was
Yeah,
a warlock.
who stayed in the
Yeah.
back and waited for their super to be full before engaging in combat, right?
Yeah.
a singer for the Lost of the Battlefield, and a singer...
And I'm
for
gonna say Brody is annoying blue all
Okay,
over the map.
Salliebug,
do anything.
you should probably quit and rejoin, is my guess. You've got a
Okay.
terrible connection.
All right, I can do that. Hold on.
Yeah, it might help. You're starting to fragment
I
out.
thought you were going a different way with that. I thought you were going to say, you should probably quit, because she said something offensive.
I would say your bandwidth is pretty low today, Stego, as well.
Yeah, I noticed that the other day when I was streaming with my students, that my computer popped up and said that I had a low connection, but I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like your
Yeah.
audio is at like 26 bits per second or something like
Any
really
better?
low. Yeah, that's
Is that
good.
any better on my
I hear you.
end?
It could be our internets today as well.
I was gonna say it could be. I noticed just even like this past week, and it could be that we're in school now, and so there are people who are doing distance learning, and a lot of people on the internet more. But yeah, it is. That I've noticed. Well, just when I was trying to call up the Bungie news pages, it was like taking a long time to load up. So
Yeah. Well, so that's about it, right? This is
So that's
we'll
it.
wrap
Those are
up
the
the
casual
podcast.
players who've hardly done anything.
That's all we've done. One thing we didn't
Yeah.
get to last week that I wanted to just acknowledge its existence is all the talk that Bungie has been releasing about Stasis, and in particular the Stasis spotlights they did on the Warlock and the Titan, and finally the Hunter. I'm going to be upfront here. I'll be honest with you. I am not super hyped or excited about these Stasis abilities for some reason. I mean, I love the videos that they released and everything, but I don't know what it is. I'm just not. I'll tell you what I am excited about. I'm excited about it's new, and I am excited about that, but I'm more excited about the customization that's going to come with this. Sort of the different layout that we're going to have.
You're not excited at all about having this new.
I guess I'm excited.
Completely different ability. It's like you can now slow and freeze enemies. It's very different from the other three things that we have, because all the other three things have been, they're different. Like they have different elements, but they all kind of do the same thing. They all basically just do damage to the enemies.
Yeah.
This subclass does something very different in that yes, it does damage, but it does damage in such a different and unique way, right? There's slowing involved, and there's freezing and shattering. I personally am really excited to get my hands on Stasis in general. Now, the specifics of each subclass, I don't know. It's hard to be hyped about something when you don't really.
Maybe that's it.
All we know is either the videos that we've seen or the
spotlights, right?
Or the spotlights. What I thought we could do, since we have a very unique podcast in that we have a representation of one of each class of the people. Like, I main a hunter and you main a warlock, even though you play all three. But when you're busy, your warlock is the one who gets most of your attention. And Stego mains a Titan. Is that still true, Stego?
Yes, I still main a Titan.
So we've got like a main of all three. So
well, I wish I could represent warlocks better. I think it's cool. The staff is really cool looking, and the shooting out stuff and everything. It's really cool. But when they revealed the sort of the what are they called? Fragments and aspects. The aspects, that's what really got. That's when I got really super hyped.
So
now I'm
excited.
More
excited about the new system than you are.
I am. That's where. Well, okay. Here's how I'm going to put it. I'm excited about the Shadebinder subclass coming to my main warlock and the other characters as well. I'm hyped. There's a difference between being excited and being hyped. I'm hyped about what we should talk about a little bit later. Our impressions of what we know about the new customization that's coming with this subclass.
Right. So that's all you're going to say about the warlock, is that you're just you're excited to get your hands on those.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of cool that there are 2 phases to the super. Like, the supers we have now are 1 phase for the most part. I suppose if you have landfall with, the Palpatine, you have a landfall and then you go around roaming. That could be considered 2 phase in a way, and the Titan's got some stuff like that as well. But this is really two parts to the super that they're doing with this. That's kind of cool. I like that.
Right.
So... I'm not going to say any more about. I am excited for Shadebinder, but I'm hyped about the customization that's coming.
All right, so
really
now
like the direction that the Stasis subclasses are taking. I like that. The Titan feels like they're taking all of the powerful aspects of all the other subclasses and kind of combining them and enhancing them. The Titan Behemoth. I don't know, when I was a striker the first time in Destiny 2, and the fact that it's no longer just a slam, but there's this second part of it where you're running around with your enhanced melee, the one-shot kill.
You look like
more of a nerf.
Yeah, you look like the Thing. You're all like, here, there's a picture here of it. Somewhere. Anyway, that is kind of cool. I gotta say,
it seems like it plays and is inspired a lot by the striker right now, but is enhanced in all the ways that it could be. I thought that the Behemoth is just a very powerful gift of the darkness, and
right.
I will accept it, but with trepidation.
It's looking like all 3 of these subclasses, all 3 of the class abilities for the Warlock, the Titan, and the Hunter all seem to have like this 2-phase super going on.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, there's not really any of our supers or our ultimate move that have this. So I don't know if this is something that they're planning on kind of going forward in the future. We were going to talk about a little later on, if we have the time to, on whether or not this is kind of like where they're going, or is this going to be unique to this particular stasis? Is that doing that kind of 1-2 punch? I'm trying to imagine, like I'm thinking in my head and my brain and how fast I am able to process information. And if these supers last as long as other supers, I can't imagine trying to do a 1-2 thing and be able to pull it off. So I'm kind of hoping that there'll be a little bit of an extended length to how long the super lasts, so that I can actually play around with it and feel like I can actually pull off this 1-2 thing.
Yeah, the Hunter Revenant, the Hunter Stasis is the one that really talks about that 1-2 punch in the super. The super's named Silence and Squall, so it's even in its name, it's really showing that it's a two-pronged attack, right?
Right. Yeah, well, and I mean, I think all three of them have a little bit of that element to it. So we've seen short videos of it in action, and we've seen and we've like read the in-depth docs on it, but obviously you're not really going to be able to make a full-on opinion about it until you get your hands on it. So I personally, I'm hyped. I think we're even though you say you're excited, I'm hyped to the new subclass, because I feel like it is so unique and so different from what we've had in the past. Not just something that does damage. Like for me, except
I'll have to use it.
I mean, let's put it this way. We have guns that are energy weapons and have elemental burns to them, right? They have either void or arc, and except for, with the exception of a few very specific exotics that I can think of, most of the time that burn for me doesn't really mean much. It means that it adds that it's a stronger weapon, but in terms of, like, I think I would like the gnawing hunger just as much if it worked absolutely 100% the same way it works now, only it was solar, right? I don't think that void is part of its personality. Whereas I feel like the stasis is going to have this very specific, like, it's going to slow and freeze enemies. It's going to have a very different attack.
Well, the Hunter can do that now with smoke, right? That kind of slows.
Yeah, it does, but that is very
it's subtle, right?
It's very subtle. Yeah, I mean, throw in the smoke bomb. It can make the,
and tether, of course,
so
does something similar, right?
But you have some unique subclasses and what the supers do, but it's not the same as like the action. I don't know. I'm just excited to see how it's going to work. This whole slowing and freezing thing. It's just like I was saying before, like, you do see it with the other subclasses, right? Like, you throw a solar grenade and you can see it burning. But I don't know. I feel like
what we haven't seen.
I'm just ready to see it.
What we haven't seen is what it's like to get frozen. From the guardian perspective of the guardian who's being frozen. Like, we all know what the screen looks like when we're caught in a tether. The camera just, wobbles, does a big dip.
Right.
So you have to kind of regain your sense of where you are and what direction you're facing to try to either shoot off who's going to try to take advantage of you being in the tether, or shoot at the tether itself to make it go away, right? Mm-hmm. I'm wondering what it's gonna look like to be frozen. That I'm kind of looking forward to as well. And something I was thinking about the other day is, do you think you can counter stasis, this ice stuff, with a solar subclass? Like, your solar melee melts the ice and you get free. So there's a counter to being frozen.
That's a whole new, right? That element hasn't really been. You know how
element versus element, like a hierarchy.
Different. In a lot of different RPGs, that's been a super big part.
Yeah, the
of
rock,
it.
paper, scissors of elements, right?
You're going after a solar. You're going after a solar boss, for instance, that you definitely want. Well, we have to use water against that solar,
right,
in order to do damage. And it's almost the opposite right now in Destiny, right? Because it's more match game. If they have a solar shield, you want to hit them with a solar shield to get that solar shield down. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see that element. It's like element versus element. And which elements, that is it electricity against water, or is it going to be the solar? I mean, they say the stasis is not water, that it's a darkness. So it's ice, but it's not water ice. It's a different kind of ice. That's what they say.
What do you think it is?
It's more like it's getting frozen due to a lack of energy, like you're sucking energy out of it. I feel.
Well, let's talk about from a scientific point of view, because you're a scientist, Sooltime. From a scientific point of view, we're going to Europa. What is the element of Europa? Like, what would be causing that frozen ground?
Well, Europa's said to be the most potentially habitable, one of the more potentially habitable places in the solar system. Isn't that right? Because we know it has carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, all those things, right?
Right. So it has the potential of having water, right?
Yeah, it does have that potential. So I don't know. What are you thinking?
It'd be interesting to see what they do with stasis, right? This is really our first introduction to a darkness subclass. You and I, Sooltime, you and I talked about it a little bit on our commute from work. This is a darkness subclass. Is it gonna like, say, right now when you do your super in your fire, you make light orbs for your fire team. Are we going to be making dark orbs? Because this is not a light subclass. This is a dark subclass, and this is our first.
Good point.
This is going to be our first experience with a darkness subclass, and I am excited to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In the gameplay footage that they showed of people of Guardians using the new Stasis supers, you saw that when they made a kill, they made an orb of power.
An orb of power.
And so it is unclear at this point whether or not they are changing all orbs of light, orbs of power,
to be orbs of power,
to be ubiquitous across all the classes, or if they are incompatible. And if you're using a light-based subclass, then you make orbs of light, and if you are using a darkness-based subclass, you make orbs of power. I don't
orbs of power.
know.
Fractious Heart says Europa is water, I think. I just did a little refresher course online at the NASA site. And there is evidence, both from some flybys and topography, but mostly from the magnetic field that's being detected off of Europa, suggests a global ocean of salty water. And there's some other evidence that there's signs of an ocean beneath the surface, maybe an underground ocean, because the surface does not have craters from meteorite impacts, which suggests a different type of surface that evolves pretty quick. It's exciting.
Yeah. I'm excited to find out how we wield the darkness, like what its origin is. How we know how we got the original, and those initial I'm thinking more specifically on learning when we learned that third new subclass in D1 and going on those very class specific missions to learn the new subclass. I'm just excited. I'm excited for something new. I think the Destiny people who have been part of Destiny for this 6-year run, they just had an anniversary, right? So happy birthday to Destiny, the Destiny franchise. It's overdue. I think it's great that we're adding this, and I'm excited to see the direction that they're going in. That being said, Sooltime, is it time for a break yet? Because I have an empty coffee mug here.
Okay, let's break for some coffee then. Why don't we? Stego, are you having any coffee today?
Oh yes. I'm sipping on an iced coffee as we chat.
While Salliebug gets her refill, I can tell you that we are enjoying our local Carpe Diem coffee that's roasted locally here. We were getting King's Coast for a while, which comes out of Long Island, and that was a very high quality product. But sometimes you need a change, and they make a maple. They have some flavored coffees at this local place, and what we love about it is it's very subtle. It's not in your face, So, but we're getting into the up here in northern New England. We're getting into the chilly mornings and cooler weather where there's the pleasure of a hot cup of coffee is enhanced, and we're starting to move away from the iced coffee cravings and into that good hot cup of fresh coffee, right?
Yeah, there's nothing quite like a hot beverage in a mug on a very chilly
day. Yeah.
Nothing quite like it.
No, not at all.
And thematically, I really appreciate and am excited to play these ice-themed subclasses this winter.
Yeah, as the winter weather rolls around. So we're getting this November 10th. Up here it'll be chilly. It'll be cool where you are in the southern climes. But nonetheless, relatively speaking, as the cooler weather rolls out, so does the cooler subclass, right? Really well timed.
Yes, and I'm wondering if as the spring rolls around, maybe that is when the light-based subclasses get a bit of a buff.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. You're talking about the light class is getting a buff or a change.
Yes.
And that's still speculation, is it not? the specifics of it certainly are speculative.
Luke Smith has said that this new direction of the design of the Stasis subclasses with the Fragments and
Aspects, right.
Aspects and Fragments is kind of like a trial, and they hope to roll either this or something like that out to all of the subclasses.
Yeah. I heard somebody saying that usually by the time they get to rolling something out, they're committed and they're going to stick with it. And they don't do away with it necessarily, but they tweak it. So I think it's safe to say that because they've got to be working on stuff that's 8, 9, 10, 12 months down the road. They've got to start working on that now. And so there's no way you can sort of, once you commit to something like the Aspects and Fragments, that you can't follow through with it for some good amount of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they can tweak it based on their data and player feedback and things like that. But I think we're going to have this. I think we're going to have, and I have up on the screen right now, the Shadebinder abilities, aspects, and fragments screen, and this is what I'm hyped about. This is what I'm really hyped about. And what I find really interesting here is how they have actually split the abilities into 4 things now, which is I find kind of interesting.
It's like a second class ability, but
to the design of the D1.
Let me see if I can get that
subclass tree, where you had your jump ability, your melee ability, and your super ability, and you could have like 3 nodes beneath that after you unlocked it to enhance or modify each of those. And so, like, I remember for the Nova Bomb, once you unlock Nova Bomb, you could then select from the 3 nodes beneath it whether you wanted the Vortex version, the Shatter version, or the Lance version.
Right. See, this is what I was thinking, so this is my theory. My theory, and this is not 100% unique. I do creators, we do listen to other podcasts and so forth, so they have touched upon this idea as well. But I definitely think that they're going to consolidate each of those 3 subclasses, so each of the 3 existing subclasses, the Solar, the Void, and the Arc, into the same as they've done with Stasis. And so instead of there being just one, instead of there being 3 choices, right now we have like 3 different choices of the way to use that ability, that there'll be one and that you'll be able to tweak it using the aspects and fragments. And if they're doing that, how do, like, and we talked about it's like 2 of the 3 on almost all of them are very similar, right? The Golden Gun, it's just 2 different types of Golden Gun, right? The top and the bottom. Mm-hmm. But the third, Blade Barrage, is very different. So how would they just make that part of, almost like part of their melee ability, or are they going to do away with it altogether? Or
I don't think they're going to do away with it altogether. I think,
or are they going to a 1-2 punch type of system within the existing, right? So one, like, you could shoot with the Golden Gun and it does something to them, and then you can like follow up with like a Blade Barrage type of throwing knife. I don't know. I'm spitballing here, but I don't think they're going to keep the 3 trees of each of those three. I think they're going to be consolidating them. And how, I don't know. But I definitely think they're going to consolidate them to look like, just so we have Shadebinder, that we have the same thing, that we only have one of each of the Solar, the Arc, and the Void, and that the ways that you can use each one of those will be up to your own accord in the way that you use different aspects and fragments.
Now,
and the timing of that, I don't know. Right? Like, is that going to be something that they're going to just like roll out over the course of the year? Or is that something that's coming in future years?
So here's my take, and I feel like this has the potential. Without getting in and using it and trying it out, it's hard to say. But just visually looking at how aspects are these... I love the concept of finding a Vex arm or a frozen thing that you pick up in the world, and it's an actual aspect that you can load in to your subclass. I have the example of the Frost Pulse aspect. It's a stasis aspect for the Shadebinder, and it causes, when you cast your Rift, it generates a shockwave that freezes nearby combatants, so it enhances your Rift, the Warlock Rift. I just think that possibility of, and you've got 2 slots for these aspects, right? So you collect these cool things that give you these new abilities, right? These perks, if you will. Now, Fragments...
Oh, are you saying that you can have 2 different aspects equipped at the same time?
At the same time, yes.
And then each aspect has a certain number of fragments that can be attached.
Exactly. So what I'm seeing here...
It's almost limitless, right? Like, you think about it mathematically. We've got a mathematician listening in. So just mathematically, you think about it, it's like if you can equip 2, and of those 2, each one of them have 3 or 4 different fragments that you can attach to it. To me, that seems limitless. I mean, it's not unlimited, obviously, but the amount that you can actually do is a lot.
It seems like it's potentially overwhelming. I hope that the way that it gets built up, I mean, we were talking about this before with like how Destiny 1 kind of slowly exposed you to everything.
Right.
And I hope that this isn't overwhelming, because while we're talking about subclasses, there was a discussion in this house this week about how we both appreciate the streamlined aspect that the subclasses have in D2 over D1. I think that the subclass changes were an improvement. The way that you pick one of 2 paths, which eventually became 3. But I think that as a whole, they were more powerful than in D1 and easier to get into the game and get to playing.
For the casual player, I'm going to be 100% in agreement with you. I found it a lot easier to navigate. There were times where, just say, like for me, at being a primarily top tree void hunter, and there are times when I would kind of like rather not have my smoke bomb and rather have there are times that I would like to tweak it, right? That I could use one grenade, like the invisibility grenade, but have every other aspect of the top tree. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like sometimes it's you're a little limited.
Yeah, you want your cake and to eat it too.
And yeah, exactly. I want my cake and I want to eat it too. But with that being said, I found, and it is overwhelming when there's a lot of choices like that. But that's where the content creators come into play. I like that it gives almost some renewal to some of those favorite content creators that we have to come up with very unique, hey, try this out, or this is the best way to, find this fragment or find this aspect, put these fragments on it, or you want fragments that boost this, or have certain different capabilities. I like that. I like that it gives some opportunity for people to come up with some really unique things that then I can try. I don't see myself personally having the time to even explore it all independently and come up with something unique to myself and my own playing style, but I'm excited to try what other people come up with. I guess that's the way I would, I like that it's giving for the people who are creative and do have the time on their hands to make it unique and make it, and that I could just kind of follow their lead on what they recommend. That's my thought, anyway.
All right.
Sooltime, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, as I was saying, I think this system, just looking at it, and again, I can't. I'm not going to know until I get my hands on it. But this system of customization of your class abilities, your class ability, your melee, your grenade, right? And your movement now, your jump, essentially, or your movement. So they've combined those four things now. They've added an ability here. And then you have two aspects, only two. It's very binary, right? Two aspects to choose from. And so a player starting out could just leave it at that and learn those how to use those four abilities to the max. They run across an aspect, they try that out. It's one variable that has changed. You've enhanced one of the four abilities. You run across another aspect, you can try that out. And those aspects are unique to Warlock, your class, Warlock, Hunter, or Titan, right? And then the menu allows you to, once you've chosen an aspect, to go one step deeper and use fragments, which are universal. So you start building up this catalog of fragments that you have. And that's where it gets more complex. But up until that point, the casual player doesn't even have to worry about fragments. Just try a couple aspects out, learn it that way. And then if you have the time, you can start investigating the next layer. And fragments, honestly, seem pretty simple unless the game drastically changes the intensity or the delta, if you will, of the stats. I'm just going to ignore the penalties because for me right now, stats really don't matter that much in my gameplay, what I do. Stats really don't matter that much. And maybe with the exception of the class stats, recovery and mobility for the Hunter and resilience for the Titan, because that gives you a boost in other areas. Maybe those matter. But I don't even pay attention to those, quite frankly. And these you get with the fragments, and they're universal. They add more customization to what your stuff does, And in this example, I'm looking at the Whisper of Bonds fragment for the Warlock. Defeating frozen targets with weapons grants you super energy. So it's almost like a mod, really, is what it is. And this mod system, for me personally, is way less convoluted. It shows everything right on this menu. I don't have to go into another menu or anything. It's all there for me to try out, experiment with very simply. This has the potential of being streamlined, simpler, yet deeper, with more depth, more customization. And that's probably why I'm hyped by this menu, these screenshots here. That's why I'm hyped about this way more than I am about the actual subclass abilities and the animations and the freezing and all that. That's where I'm at.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, though, and say that I think they are just from, and we will we'll mention Luke Smith again, just from ways he has talked in the past in his director's cuts, that I think they are really looking to make this franchise more of an MMORPG like game in which stats actually really do matter. So I feel like there is going to be an ultimate shift in that, where that you really will feel going up 5 or going down 10, that you'll feel it. That's my personal opinion. I may be wrong here, but
well, then that would mean that you think a little more about which fragments you would use, and that does put a little more complexity to it. I'm thinking if this works, I wish Armor 2.0 worked a little bit more like this, because that is overwhelming to me. The way Armor 2.0 is now, I've gotten to the point to where I don't bother with it. Very rarely do I take the 15 minutes to spec out before each activity. I just go from a nightfall to public events, to a raid, raids are different. End game stuff I do spec out and try to choose a little, but it's a pain, and mm-hmm. With the affinity system, and Salliebug, we've talked about this, that affinity system really kind of goes against the spirit of balance when it comes to cosmetics, getting an armor set, the armor that you want, what you want to look like, and your stats, which stats you want to boost or whatever, and then the weapons you want to use, and all that experimentation between armor, weapons, and cosmetics. The current system really sort of hinders experimentation with those three aspects, in that it's tough. I mean, I know a lot of people have just resorted to just collecting void-based armor.
Especially for the casual player, right?
Right, because
the casual player doesn't have the time to not only build up 3 different sets of whatever piece of armor that you actually want, and in addition to that, get them to have the materials to get them to the point of being able to add the mods that you want to have on it. And I know you don't have to masterwork every single piece, but even just to be able to equip, okay, well, I want this mod. I'm not going to say any particular one. Well, let's just say I want an ammo finder mod, but I also want a loader mod.
Right. It's almost like stats.
And then you have to go with a particular, what would you say? Affinity. It's affinity, right?
Yeah, the element.
You have to go with a particular affinity. So it's okay, well, I'm running this fusion rifle, so now I need this affinity. I still don't know what those are. I have yet to figure that out. But I want to run this void fusion rifle for this particular activity, and now I need to go and find that particular piece of armor, and have I leveled it? Does it have the right affinity, and have I leveled it up to the point of being able to put on the mods that I want to put on? It's not,
and that's not even taking right. That's not even taking into account seasonal mods, right? Like a certain, now I need a certain season. Plus or minus one.
Being a casual podcast point of view, this is a system that is not for the casual player.
No,
it absolutely is not.
I don't think it's for any player. Actually,
I think there may be some hardcore players that really do this. I mean, you were watching something.
But is it fun?
You were watching a YouTube recently on a guy who was showing how to use Destiny Item Manager, for instance, for particular loadouts. But he had so many different armor sets that were fully masterworked, and I'm like, okay, that's not something that I can even contemplate having
because of the cost. And they did, in all fairness, they made it so you can change the affinity if you like the certain stats on armor. You can change the affinity, but if you masterworked it, there goes all of your stuff, and I'm sure you get some stuff back. I don't know. I've never done it because it's so costly, and we just don't have the materials or the resources for that as casual players.
It's one of those things. For the most part, like you said, I ignore. Just okay, I'm running this. Do I have a mod that gives me an edge up on this particular, on the weapons that I'm wearing? And if it does, it does. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. And I just kind of go with it because I don't have the
might be cool.
I don't have the time to farm for all of those different types of armor pieces. And they seem to have a huge focus on that armor farming. They're doing it with the holdfast armor, right? The seasonal armor right now with the recaster, right, Stego? Right, you can
focus your armor. Yeah, I'm still here.
Well, yeah, you can focus your armor on and I haven't used that bottom part of the recaster at all.
No, and
it's just not, and I think they did that with the Solstice armor as well. It's like after you got to a certain level, then you could just start running and opening packages to farm higher stat armor, and it's like, yeah, that's not for the casual player, but obviously not because it requires so much. Go ahead.
The recaster, that bottom tree of the upgraded armor that focuses, it says it will have a focus in strength or intellect. They kind of botched the implementation of that because it's still not even guaranteed to be the best roll that armor gets.
Right.
It's not even guaranteed to be a good roll, period.
Right.
It's just that the base roll of the armors have plus 10 in either strength, discipline, or intellect, and then another plus 10 in resilience, mobility, or recovery.
Right.
And then there's also a plus random amount. And all that bottom tree does is it says that it fixes that plus 10 to another spot, to a specific spot.
Interesting.
But it's still not guaranteed to be one of the 60 base rolls that you would get from a prime engram.
Right.
So it's not even the best way to go about getting your build. The best way is to just still farm prime engrams and hope that you get a good roll.
Right.
Or, just use the armor that you get from the season pass.
So here's my thoughts
it's not
thoughts from
something I look at when
sorry.
I get a piece of armor. If it is lower light, which most of the time, right? I have played enough to get. I'm not at 1060 yet because I'm missing a class item, but I'm pretty close. I'm at 1059. And when I get, like, say, a helmet, and it's at 1060 or 1059, and I look at it, I just look to see what the light level is. I don't look at its affinity. I don't look at its stats. I just delete it or infuse it. It's beyond my. It's just a part of the game that I have not been able to buy into yet, I guess is the way to word it.
Yeah. I do want to say a couple things about the aspects and fragments. I was having a hard time understanding before this podcast what the aspect and fragments were, and I wanted to thank you guys for shedding some light on that. Pun kind of intended there. I do also want to go back to something that Sooltime said, which made me a little nervous about how he said that there are some sacrifices and penalties to be made for using some of these fragments, like a -10 to strength, and he said that he doesn't care what he has to sacrifice in order to use the powers of the darkness, and I just wanted to express some concern there. That's all.
What I meant was, if stats really maintain their sort of weak sauce influence on gameplay, then I really don't care. If I have to take a -10 discipline to get something cool to happen, that's fine with me. I won't even bother with it. But Salliebug pointed out that if they change how stats affect your gameplay, or they make them stronger, or maybe they go to a different, instead of 1 to 100, maybe they do a 1 to 10 thing or something, and make it like going from 2 to 3, you actually feel it, or 2 to 5 at least, you feel something like profound.
Or if you have like level 6 or level 7 strength or discipline, then maybe you experience some enhanced damage in your melee ability or your grenade.
Exactly. Well, while we were yapping, I switched over to the Behemoth spotlight, where they show a fragment called Whisper of Endurance, which actually gives you a boost, a +10 in your strength stat when you equip this. So there are going to be penalties, but there are also going to be boosts. And just for the sake of the audio audience, the Whisper of Endurance, slow from your abilities lasts longer. Slow being one of your things that you do. For those abilities that linger, their duration will also increase. So that's a win-win fragment. So you're going to get, they're doing that as well. I feel like the way I feel about, I am really hyped for this, to try this out, this new way of controlling or boosting your subclass. But I feel like from a development point of view, I kind of get why things are like they are with affinities and whatnot. And I feel like it's the developer's way of guarding against somebody just making a guardian that's OP, too strong. They don't want to. They want to maintain some sense of balance in the sandbox or the ecosystem of gameplay. But I would say our discussion has been. I'm sorry.
They want to make it harder to actually get there, but
you could argue they've made it impossible to get there, which is what their goal was.
Never even touches upon that part of the game.
And the hardcore players never get so strong that they're just, far out, and it makes it they're stealing all the kills from Kinderguardians that come in. I feel like to close up this topic, I would say it's a struggle between stats, mods, and the cosmetic aspect. I want this armor set because it looks cool and it plays into the fantasy. I want to be able to wear this strike armor when I'm doing strikes. I want to be able to wear Last Wish armor when I'm doing Last Wish. I want to be able to put on my Iron Banner set when I'm playing Iron Banner. That's the fantasy, right? I am Saladin's buddy.
I did that
so that's the cosmetic aspect. So you've got these three things: stats, mods, cosmetics. And it's right now, I feel like it's pick one and you don't get the other two. Whereas I think it would be better if they could have devised a way of pick two and you don't get the third one. I think would be a lot nicer, a lot better balance. I realize it's easier said than done from a development point of view, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss that aspect. I miss and I know they've done it a little bit with the ornaments, in that you can make your particular armor look a certain way with certain ornaments.
Definitely, they're moving in that direction,
right?
Which is good.
So that is possible. So you really if you really like kind of like the Glow Solstice, which Stego got this weekend, then you can put that on any piece of armor that you want. That's an ornament. That Solstice Glow is an ornament, so you can put it on any piece of armor that you want.
I like it.
And so, they have to a certain extent, but like for me,
not
like
fully.
You were saying, it's like I do right. It's not fully.
Not fully.
Like if
I want my Iron Banner suit, right?
Right. And they're doing that, and that kind of touches upon another topic that we kind of wanted to talk about. They talked about it in the TWAB this week, was how they are going to have like a new set, like a new Vanguard set, a new Crucible set, and a new Gambit set every year. And you can go after those sets from those particular vendors.
Right, here we go.
But there again, you have that same, and I like that it's just one set, right? So you're talking about 3 different sets, and that's okay. But if they continue with the affinity, that's not 3 different sets. That's 3 sets for Vanguard, 3 sets for Crucible, 3 sets for Gambit, and then Iron Banner is a whole nother piece, and they didn't touch upon what they're doing for that yet. It's just, again, still too much, still overwhelming. And I miss the aspect of, okay, I'm going to the Crucible, I want to put on my Crucible armor, but I don't have the time.
Quite the way that I understood it.
Oh, well, how did you understand it?
There is one playlist armor set that has 3 types of mods, not mods, but so there's one armor set that has a Crucible ornament, or a Strike ornament, or a Gambit ornament.
Let's read that, Neil. Let's read it out.
Yeah, they're quoting a previous. There's another article that probably has more detail on this, but it says here, to quote the article, here's what you can expect on November 10th. We are adding a new set of armor for the core playlist, Strikes, Gambit, and Crucible. This armor shares a set of new geometry with decals and shaders specific to the activity. So Stego's right. You get Strike armor, Gambit armor, or Crucible armor. We will create new sets like this each year, so it's a yearly thing. This set will arrive alongside the next expansion, and they have
I'm still confused. Are we getting 3 different sets of armor? Or are we getting one set of armor of which has ornaments based on the and that's what Stego is saying, because it does say a set. We're adding a new set of armor, but it says a new set for the core playlist. Is there one set of armor for each of those three?
I think there is one set of armor, and when you scroll down, you can look at the similarities of the...
shares a set of new geometry with decals and shaders specific to the... I'm confused.
So you see
how is that going to work? Do you
look at the image here. Scroll back up a little bit.
Yep.
To the image of the three classes in the new armor, and you can see they all have this knife on there, so they're all wearing the same armor, but the hunter earned this armor in the Crucible. And so when it was picked up, it has this Crucible shader on it,
right,
which has a Crucible sticker. And you can see, like, on the left gauntlet there, these two little cylinders.
Right. What they call in the description decals as well, right?
But it's but it's not an ornament. Okay, so it's still,
ornamental, Salliebug.
It's ornamental.
Yeah.
But all right,
depending on which it's playlist or
the helmet.
Right.
The helmet dropped from doing a Crucible bounty.
Right.
Right. But then I went and did the strike playlist, and the legs dropped from doing a strike. Now they don't look the same. Like, it's the same piece of armor, but they've got different decals. I'm already saying I want 3 different ones because I don't want to have different decals. That's like wearing plaid with stripes. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you'll be able to change it just by changing the shader. But I wonder, when are we going to get info on the transmogrification system?
Right.
Transmogrification. It's a good song, by the way. Anyway, I don't know, but I've been told that will solve my triumvirate problem of stats versus mods versus cosmetics, right? If we can just check off the cosmetics and just go for stats/mods competition in our choices and our aspiration, that would be great. I think you need to get rid of one of those problems, one of those, vertices of the triangle. Stats, mods, cosmetics when it comes to armor. This goes back a long way to D1. I remember thinking that. It's like, well, I love this armor, but what's my incentive to get a full set of it when I know I'm going to be sacrificing stats and perks,
I like what you were saying, Stego. So I like the idea. It's like, okay, I just happen to have the helmet drop doing Crucible, but I don't do Crucible very often, so I don't really want this Crucible helmet. Can I go into the helmet and then choose the strike appearance and have the strike decals instead? I don't know. I mean, that I think that's, or do I have to earn a separate helmet that has those strike decals and so forth? I don't know. That's something that I guess we just have to find out as we play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If we continue on down the TWAB, there's some other goodies that they mention here. The new pursuit weapon they revealed that everybody's already whining about because it's a reskin, right? What do you
like that, but I do
like reskins?
That. No, I don't. I honestly don't care about that as much as I.
What? You don't want to complain about reskins?
As much as what
Come
I was
on.
saying with
Bungie just wants
like
our
to
money.
Have my armor to look like I want it to look. I know they already have ornaments on weapons. I think that even though weapons have a similar kind of look to it, they've put different geometry over an existing sniper. I don't mind that for me, it's like, how much can you change it? They worked off of the basic model of this particular sniper, but the sniper itself is going to be unique. It's going to be different, and I'm okay with that. Also, like the fact that you can get that pursuit weapon doing the activity that you like the most, and that you don't have to go into, like, there were so many of those very popular pinnacle / pursuit weapons that you had to do a part of the game that you wish you weren't being forced to do. And now they're not doing that.
Stego, what's your opinion about reskins?
I think that is a great use of resources. I think that
you're not going to complain about it?
No, I'm not going to complain about it at all. If it saves anybody even a day's worth of work to just say, you know what, instead of building a whole new unique sniper rifle 3D model that people won't even really look at. Usually when they're using it, they're just going to be glancing at the little icon and the tip of the barrel of the gun. Yeah, I would say that I am perfectly fine with a reskinned 3D model of the gun.
I'm totally in agreement with actually both of you on this. I think reskins is worthy of discussion only with respect to the fact that it represents the discussion of the complaint about reskins is sort of a great example of a issue to whine about when there's nothing else to complain about in the game. I think it's a great, easy, low-lying fruit to like everything's going well in Destiny. Oh, wait a minute, that looks like a reskin. There's something to complain about. It's like, and this is beautiful. I'm looking at the picture of this pursuit weapon that's coming out in Season 12, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's amazing looking, and it's almost like the reskin argument is that person who, we say, let's have a pizza party, and there's always that one person says, oh, why? I mean, the pizza's going to be cold by the time it gets here. It's just the Debbie Downer that wants to just always complain. Find something wrong with everything.
For the sake of complaining.
Yeah.
And another thing about that, too, is part of it is they're looking at it and they're thinking, that's just Beloved. That's Beloved again. Why would they sunset Beloved, take it away just to give it to us again? What is the purpose of that? I don't understand. I'm confused, and I'm angry, and I'm maybe even a little hungry, and then all those complaints are going to go away once they get the gun, and it's going to be rebalanced, but it's still going to feel powerful. It's going to have new perks.
And it's not going to function like Beloved. It's going to function like its own unique gun.
I don't even care if it functions exactly like Beloved, but slightly differently. Once they see the perks that it comes with and they get their hands on it, they're going to stop complaining.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's usually what happens with those things.
And what's your opinion on the way that you can pursue it?
I love that. I think that one pursuit weapon per season is a lot more sustainable. I think that it obviously got way out of hand coming up with 3 pursuit weapons per season in terms of balancing, because you want them to feel special, you want them to feel powerful, and then things like Recluse and Mountaintop happen.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And I love the fact that they're giving you a choice between Strikes, Crucible, or Gambit to earn it. That's just great. That's just beautiful. A beautiful thing for us casuals who, don't have a lot of time.
I'm still bummed that there's so many of those high-end weapons that required doing a certain level of Crucible that I was never able to achieve.
But there's
And
more. There's more, Sally.
Now that school has started, not going to be having the time to be able to go after it. And I've kind of lost my desire to as well. It's just like, yeah.
Thanks, Luke Smith.
I just want to do what and that's what other people are saying. I want to do what I want to do. I don't want to be forced to go in and do a part of the game that I don't have as much. When I feel like doing Crucible and I want to do it, I'll go in and do it. But if I don't want to do it, I don't want to be forced. Like, I have to go in and do this because you have to get this weapon.
Yeah.
Did I mention there's more to the pursuit weapon, Salliebug?
Mountaintop and Recluse were definitely those types of weapons.
Did I mention there's more to the pursuit weapon than just going into your choice of playlist to get it? Once you finish the main quest, Zavala, Lord Shax, or the Drifter, respectively, will offer you an additional quest, which will reward you with the weapon ornament, and it's going to be either Crucible Strike or Gambit themed. I love that. So you can get all 3 ornaments, I believe, if you want. But you also have to get 3 set. You have to go through the weapon quest, I would think, as well, for you completionists out there. I'm just scrolling through the images of the 3 ornaments, and this is just beautiful. I love what's going on here. It's a nice, beautiful thing. We I think all 3 of us have more or less agreed there's too many weapons in the game. If you include the greens, the whites, the greens, and the blues as well, there's just too much. It's getting.
So I like that they're streamlining it.
Yeah.
They're streamlining it and saying, okay, we're going to have one weapon. You have different ways that you can go about it based on your own play style and the type of player that you are. And that it's. I feel like it will feel special, but everybody will have a chance, an opportunity to get it, so that there's not like the haves and the have-nots.
Sure.
That happen so often.
Right. Well, we're getting to that time where we need to start wrapping things up. The last and final thing that I was thinking we should talk about, or at least acknowledge, well, there's a couple things, is they're talking about streamlining the playlists, which streamlining is always good, and especially in a game that's gotten too convoluted, too spread out, too complicated, I think, especially for us casuals. Streamlining, the word streamline, oh my gosh, that gets me hyped. And it's also good for player population when you streamline something like the Crucible. If you limit the choice, you increase the player population in any given lobby, which I think's a good thing. But the sad part of this streamlining, and I'm sure both of you will agree with me, wink wink, that we're saying goodbye to the story missions in the Vanguard, in streamlining the Vanguard playlist. It's just going to be strikes and Nightfall.
When was the last time you went into the story playlist?
I got all the triumphs last week.
I know you did.
Yep, I got all the triumph story
Stego,
mission.
When was the last time you went into the story mission playlist in the Vanguard?
The last time I remember really doing that with any modicum of enthusiasm was Destiny 1, the daily heroic mission.
Oh.
That rotated daily with a bunch of modifiers.
You know, the thing is that it didn't have it doesn't have a reward. Like, you go in and do it for maybe the triumphs, like if you're a completionist, right?
Yeah.
And you want to get all the triumphs, or you know, Sooltime, you said, okay, well, this is a triumph that's going away, so I'm going to just try to get them.
Yeah, so I did
and
it.
I'm this close, but you know, outside of that, there was like no reward. So
No.
like, at least with the strike playlist, you did 3, you got something.
Yeah.
You do three
you
story
guys-
missions, you get nothing.
Do you guys remember?
You don't get. I mean, besides a notch in your belt for going towards the triumph, but nothing else.
I guess I liked it better when Ikora was doing like the memories, she called them, and that was part of a viable sort of like vendor based aspiration to get that done with Ikora. She hasn't had anything to do ever since, it seems.
Yeah,
after her, she did the season, like at the beginning of the year, and that was about it, right?
Right, she did do that. The building
criminally underused as a character.
Yeah, well, as of recent, anyway.
Absolutely criminally underused
for sure. The announcement of Adept Weapons returning to Trials, and at some point to Nightfalls. I was very happy to hear about that. That we would.
Yeah, except that I think again it's going to be
Grandmaster.
It's going to be Grandmaster, and we've already had that experience, and then whether or not that's something we can do. And,
I've already shut that experience out of my mind, so thanks for bringing it up again.
I wonder if that means that Ascendant Shards may kick down a tier as a reward.
Ooh.
Oh, now that would be exciting.
I like that.
I would like that material to be more readily available.
I would like armor,
the more casual
materials to be more more accessible in general. So that would be great.
for the casual player.
For the casual
right?
player, of course, just for the casual player.
Because the hardcore players, I've seen them go into their inventory. They have more than enough to do whatever they want to do.
You've seen.
They could They could delete a whole set of armor and then get a whole new set of armor and masterwork it immediately. Like it's not an issue. It's not an issue for them.
Well, career.
Ekugan or however you pronounce his name has done like 1,000 Grandmaster Nightfalls. It's insane.
He likes the Grandmaster Nightfalls. Give him a break. And then finally, and I don't think we have time to go in much detail of this, but finally the new Gambit mode that's coming out, that's combining the best of both worlds. It seems to be, from what I've read and what I've heard, mostly like Gambit Prime with some changes to. Some balance changes to make...
They went into quite a bit of detail on it, and rather than going over all that detail, I'm going to withhold judgment on there until I actually get in and do it.
It's hard to tell.
It's like I can read all those words, but it's really until I get in there and get a feel for what it feels like. But for those that love Gambit, they probably wanted a little bit more of an idea of how it'll feel. So,
right.
But for me, it's a wait and see until I get in there.
I really, I'm excited. I have always really been a fan of Gambit, but Gambit Original feels long with the 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Gambit Prime feels more like an appropriate length. But they admitted to in this week's TWAB that it was balanced with the Reckoning armor in mind.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Good point, yes.
So they said that some of the changes that they're implementing are basically nerfing the bosses. They have bosses that spawn in each wave that they, by design, were thinking that the person with the full set of Reaper armor would be the one to take on.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just getting rid of those.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a matter, and I think we talked about this a little bit with the Crucible, but it was a bit of a haves and have-nots, right?
Yeah.
You go against a team that has those full sets of armor and all of those benefits against a bunch of blueberries that don't have any of it. It's not going to be a fun experience.
Yeah, and I feel like the design of the Gambit Prime armor, while cute, kind of went contrary to the essence of Destiny gear, in that you don't really have to change your build based on what activity you really want to do. You could take the same weapon into strikes as you do into Crucible, but in Gambit Prime, you really needed that Gambit Prime armor.
Yeah, I think it was a good idea and a fun idea at first. And I remember the early videos that came out on the new Gambit Prime armor were like, oh, this is going to be so awesome. But again, after the way it was set up with the synthesizers and doing a completely other activity to get and introducing 4 new currencies, and the fact that you had to actually take something to buff to unlock the perks of the armor each time you went into Gambit. It was very convoluted obtaining the armor and climbing the 3 levels of each of the 3 oh my gosh, there were 3 levels of 4 sets for each character. Do the math there. That is crazy stuff. So I think it was a little convoluted, a little bit too ambitious. I will say this, if you've read through their description of what they're planning for the new Gambit, super transparent. I mean, they're talking about stuff that they tried that didn't work in-house and stuff like that. This is like one of the most transparent reveals of any video game developer anywhere. It's almost like if you want to be a video game developer, read these TWABs, because Bungie is at such a level of transparency now that you can learn how to develop games almost. It's pretty cool, actually. I think I commend them, the author of that section of the TWAB, whoever that was. That's great stuff. It's good stuff. Anything else? Are we ready to kind of wrap this up today? This week's.
I think so. It's been kind of a long one for us.
It has been a long one, but I think it's time for us to say goodbye. So I would say at this time we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to episode 9 of the Paracasual Destiny Podcast. We went a little longer this week, but it was worth it. Great conversation, as always, with Fractious Heart and Funny Bone in the chat. And, of course, I'm Sooltime, and we're with Greenstego and Salliebug. You can look for us on Twitter at ParacasualP, and on our YouTube channel, where we broadcast live every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Please consider a like, subscribe, or comment on Twitter or the YouTubes here. We'd love to hear from you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.